स्वहेतत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste, my dear friends. This is video number 31 on Viveka Chudamani of Adi Sankaracharya. This video starts with the topic Practice of Knowledge Disciple. This video starts with verse number 480 and this topic will be covered from verse 480 to 520. Verse 480 Iti Guru Vachna Chu Ti Pramana Tapram Gamme Sattatve Atam Yukta Parshmit Karne Samahitatma Kavchit Chala Kirti Atam Nishta To Bhutah. Through the words of the teacher, the pronouncements of the scriptures, and by his own reasoning, with senses controlled and mind fixed, at an auspicious moment, realizing the supreme truth, he becomes motionless in form and perfectly established in the self. Earlier in the first quarter of the text, the disciple asked, when I reject the Panchkosa, I find that there is nothing. What is there to be experienced and with what? It is all a big zero. The Guru started his answer from verse 213 and concluded his arguments in verse 478. Summarizing the conclusions of the Upanishads so far with what has been said by the teacher, compared with the Upanishadic declarations and one's own independent logical thinking, one gets indirect knowledge of the self. Now, having gained this indirect knowledge, if he quietens his sense organs and also quietens his mind and intellect in contemplation of Narayana, he gains direct experience of the reality. Thus, the disciple becomes immovably established in the nature of the self. A rare student thus becomes. Stanza 481 किंचित कालम समाधाय प्रे ब्रह्मणि मानसम उत्थाय परम आनंदिदम वचनम ब्रवीत. After concentrating his mind on the Supreme Brahma for some time, he rose and out of supreme bliss he spoke as follows. When one transports oneself into the experience of infinitude, nobody can say how long the experience will last. There is no count of time. It all depends upon the individual. Time is relative and its standards cannot be exchanged in the different planes of consciousness. To reach, there is your Purushartha, but having reached, no Purushartha is involved. Having lived in that state of Samadhi for an immeasurable period of time, the disciple rose from his seat of meditation. He could not contain his joy within the web of his body, mind, intellect, equipment, so he cried out and declared in exquisite ecstasy, the infinite bliss of his experience. Stanza 482. बुद्धिर विनष्टा गलिता प्रवृत्ति ब्रह्म आत्मनो रेकेत दिग्गत्या इदम ने जाने निदम ने जाने किम वा किए द्वा सुख मस्ते परम. My intellect is completely raised and all activities have dropped off by realizing the oneness of Atma and Brahma. I understand neither this nor not this, nor do I know what or of what measure is this endless bliss. My intellect is gone. Buddhir vinashta. The intellect which was asking 1,000 questions, why, how, when, where, what, that intellect, even if I search for it, now I cannot find it. It has completely ended, meaning in it there is no trace of agitation. My activity at all levels of personality is completely dissolved. Galita Parvirtihi. The activity and the intellect are not destroyed because of tamas, but they are dissolved at the altar of the experience that the self in me is the self everywhere. Brahma Atam Maurikaha Taya Abhigatya. Having awakened to the plane of consciousness, the present intellect is no more, and so the various egocentric activities cannot be pursued. The function of the intellect is to discriminate. Now a stage has come where I do not understand anything as this, nor do I understand anything as not this, not this, not this. I do not see anything other than Brahma. I see only one Brahma everywhere at all times. That experience cannot be explained. I cannot, in terms of measure, say what it is or how much it is. What and how much are the methods of explaining a thing? They being the questions asked during a qualitative and quantitative analysis. The experience of infinitude cannot be subjected to such analysis. To explain a thing, the intellect is necessary. The intellect cannot explain an experience that transcends it. All that I can say is Brahma alone is all that is. It is endless bliss. With that experience, when I look around, all things get destroyed in the sense, all names and forms disappear and only pure consciousness remains. The meditator, without getting up from his seat, jumps up and dances without legs in the ecstatic joy where there is no mind to enjoy, and thunders forth where there is no mouth to talk. Stanza 483. वाचा वक्तुमः शक्यमेव मनसा मन्नु निवा शक्यते सब आनंद मृत पूरी पुरित ब्रह्मा वधुर्देव भवम अभोर राशि विशीर्ण वार्षिक शिला भावम भजन में मनु यशा सांसल्वे विलीन मधु आनंद आत्मना निर्वर्तम. Impossible for speech to express, impossible for the mind to conceive is the splendor of the ocean of the Supreme Brahma, replete with the swell of the nectarine bliss of the self. In an infinitesimal part of it, my mind merged like a hailstone in the ocean is now content with the essence of that bliss. A change of meter is adopted here to suit the song of ecstasy. It is impossible to express in words the experience of infinitude. It is not possible to think of that experience with the mind. It is the glory of the ocean of the Supreme Self, which is immortal joy. This glory is the unending infinite bliss of my own real nature. Overflowing bliss, eternal and immortal, is the ocean of the infinite self, whose glory can neither be expressed nor thought of. When I go there, I cannot exist. When I come back, I cannot explain. What happens to you at that time? My mind becomes exactly like the hailstone fallen in the ocean. A hailstone is essentially water. When it falls into the vast expanse of water, the ocean, it may sink in and reach a few yards below the surface. Then there is no more going or coming. It becomes the ocean. Similarly, the mind in meditation can take you thus far and no further. All that I can say is that it is Ananda. In it there is a complete sense of fulfillment. It is the joy in which there is no trace of the fear of ever losing it. When the mind meditates on Brahma, since it is of the nature of Brahma, it itself becomes Brahma. Stanza 484. Kavgatam ken va nitim kutre लीन midam jagat अधुनैव maya drishtam nasti kim महद adbhat. Where has it gone? Who has removed it? Where has the universe merged? Just now it was seen by me, has it now ceased to be? Wonder of wonders, the experience of infinitude is being dramatized on the stage of the finite. The disciple asks, where has the pluralistic world gone? By whom was it removed? I saw a world before which I do not see now. Into what has it dissolved? Is it that all these years I was suffering in a non existing world? A wonder of wonders it is. The world I saw was a wonder. Greater still is the wonder that it has all disappeared now. The wonder of wonders is what I am experiencing now. Stanza 485. Kim heyam kimupadeyam किमन्यत् विलक्षणम अखंडा आनंद पीयूष पूर्णे ब्रह्मांडवे. What is to be accepted and what rejected, what is different and what dissimilar in the might ocean of Brahma, filled with the nectar of absolute bliss. Here one remembers Sri Ramakrishna's parable of the salt doll entering the ocean to measure its depth and becoming the ocean, itself being essentially of the nature of the ocean. The ocean of Brahma is the limitless nectar of bliss. In that boundless, overflowing, unbroken bliss, what is to be shunned or accepted? There is nothing other than it. It alone is. You cannot say that because in it there is not this. You cannot say because there is no that. There is no thisness or thatness. It is isness. Even this is a compromise. It is endless bliss. Stanza 486. Ne kischit datram pashyami ne शृणोमि ने वेदम mehem सौ आत्म नेव सदा आनंद रूपेण अस्मि विलक्षण है. In this I neither see nor hear nor know anything. I exist as the Atma, bliss eternal, distinct from everything else. In the culmination of meditation, where the meditator has merged into the meditation, there are no objects other than me, nor are there any equipments of experience. There is neither mind nor intellect. I simply exist as myself. So Atam Neva. It is the total annihilation of the individuality at the altar of the Absolute. In my own self I revel as myself with myself, which is of the nature of unbroken bliss at all times. Unique, it is something totally different from all that is known. Verse number 487. नमो नमस्ते गुरुवे महात्मने विमुक्त संगाय सदुत्तमाय नित्य आनंद सरस्वरूपिणे भूमने सदा पारदा बद्धुधामने. Salutations to thee, O noble Guru, who art free from attachments, best among the noble ones, the embodiment of the essence of eternal non-dual bliss, who art endless, ever the limitless ocean of mercy. The student remembers his teacher who has showed him the path and is grateful to him. O large-hearted one, Mahatmane, he exclaims, large-hearted because in spite of our weaknesses and animal tendencies, he, with his infinite kindness, lifts us from our present limitations to the vision of this great goal. The salutations are not offered to the form, the physical frame of the teacher, for he who is the best among realized ones, who has segregated himself from his physical, emotional, and intellectual layers, from egocentric attitudes, and from the sense of fulfillment arising out of objects, emotions, and thoughts, is the Guru. The teacher is of the nature of Brahma itself. He is addressed here as best among the realized ones because there are a number of realized ones in the world, but it is this master who has helped the student and guided him to the realization of the self. The description of the teacher given in this verse is that of Brahma itself, Nitya, Advaya, and Anand Savrupa. The teacher is that sourceless ocean of kindness which is eternal, non-dual, and the all-pervading bliss form. To that teacher my namaskaras. Stanza 488. यत कटाक्ष शशि सा चंद्र चंद्रिका पात धूत भवता पज्जश्रम प्राप्तवान हम खंडवई भव आनंद आत्मा पदभक्षम अक्षणात्, whose glance like a cascade of moonbeams has removed my fatigue caused by the miseries of the world and taken me to the indestructible bliss of infinite splendor, the Atma, in but a moment. As the moon cools the earth which has been baked by the sun during the day, the sorrows arising in one's bosom because of worldly tensions are lifted by the compassionate glance of the teacher. The personality which has been feeling the tensions of sansaric sorrows is cooled and comforted and disciple rises to the state of selfhood, the glory of which is unbroken bliss, blessed by the grace of the Guru. The sansaric exhaustions gathered during one's lifetime are all lifted from the personality in a twinkle of the eye by the Guru's grace. The example of the moonlight cooling the earth is taken because the moon does not actually come in contact with the earth to remove its heat. In the presence of the moon, the earth by itself gives up the heat gathering during the day. Similarly, the student in the presence of the teacher, guided by his knowledge himself, reaches the cool comfort of the blissful state of the self and leaves all the tensions and stresses of life created by the ego and the endless avarices of the flesh. All this happens in the flash of a moment by just one look. To that great Guru, my namaskaras. Stanza 489. धन्यो अहम कृत कृतो अहम विमुक्तो अहम भवग्रहात् नित्य आनंद स्वरूप अहम पूर्णो अहम तव दुनुग्रहात्. Blessed am I have reached the fulfillment of my life, am free from the shark of transmigration. I am the embodiment of eternal bliss. I am the infinite, all by your grace. Blessed am I have attained the fulfillment of my life. I am completely liberated from the clutches of the shark of Sansar. Sansar is compared to a shark because the shark will not eat you up limb by limb. It will swallow you whole, shoot and boot. The digestion takes place without your knowledge, even when you are living inside. In the chambers of the belly, you can walk about. You can go to office, you can eat, sleep and breathe, and the digestive secretions will slowly work upon you and reduce you to a deplorable state. Are we not living this living death in the belly of Sansar? Having realized the selfhood, I am liberated from this death and hence am indeed blessed. As the self, I am of the nature of eternal bliss. I am full. There is no sense of deficiency and consequently there is no desire to supply it. All this is gained by the grace, O teacher, to thee my namaskaras. Asango ham lingo ham bhangur prashanto ham ananto ham loham chirantanah. Unattached am I, disembodied am I, free from the subtle body am I, and undecaying serene am I, infinite am I, unsullied am I, and endless too. The teacher has been advising and guiding the student up to verse 478. From verse 482 onwards, it is the student who is talking. Having realized this selfhood, the student talks about his experience of infinitude. From 82 to 489, he was talking as the PFT. Now the entire vision has changed. Having reached the Paramatman, the individual who has become the self cries out in the ecstasy of his identification with Brahma. These verses help the sadhkas in their contemplation. Unattached am I, asangoham. It is only the BMI that get attached to the world of OET, and in their self-identification they conjure up the miserable PFT attitude themselves. Attachment is the function of the am and I, and the state of selfhood being beyond the am and I, there cannot be any sense of attachment. In the one infinite mass of consciousness, who can get attached to what? Disembodied am I, anangoham, in the homogeneous mass of consciousness which is the nature of the self, there can never be any separate part with different structures and functions. As the self is a realm transcending the physical, mental, and intellectual bodies, there are no limbs in the self. Free from the subtle body am I, Elangoham. The instruments of feeling and thinking together constitute the subtle body which I otherwise called in Vedanta as Linga Srira. The term Alinga means one devoid of the am and I and therefore of their agitations. Undecaying am I, Abhanguraha. The term also can mean without sprout. In the context here it means that there will be no vasanas sprouting into thoughts and actions. The meaning and the idea conveyed by the rest of the terms are given elsewhere. Contemplate upon them. Stanza 491. अकर्ता हम भोक्ता हम विकारो हम क्रिय शुद्ध बोध स्वरूपो अहम केवलो अहम सदाशिव. I am not the doer, I am not the experiencer, I am without modification and without activity. I am the embodiment of pure knowledge, I am absolute and eternal auspiciousness am I. The Atma functioning through the mind is the doer and expressing through the intellect is the enjoyer. Since the mind and the intellect have been transcended, what remains is the self, enjoyment of one's own self. Swarup Ananda then becomes possible and the enjoyment of other objects. Visya Ananda or Dvaita Ananda or Bhoga Ananda is not possible. Activities take place in me, but I have no activity. I am pure knowledge, the objectless awareness. I am that in whose presence all knowledge is possible. I am knowledge of a thing minus the thing. Absolute and ever auspicious, immaculate and without imperfections am I. Stanza 492. Drishtuhu Srotru कर्तृ भोक्तु विभिन्न एवाहम नित्य निरंतर निष्क्रियन सीमा संग पूर्ण बोधात्मा. Indeed, I am other than the seer, hearer, speaker, doer, and experiencer. I am eternal and unbroken beyond activity, boundless, unattached, and infinite, the essence of knowledge. Trying to express in words that which is beyond the reach of words, he feels as it were choked, hence the choking meter. The incapacity to express the inexpressible is indicated in this stammering verse. Seer, hearer, speaker, doer, and enjoyer all put together form the individuality. When the individuality is transcended, one reaches the state of selfhood. There is the negation of the PFT in the first half and the assertion of Om in the latter half of the verse. Upon this, contemplate. Stanza 493. Na ham idam, na madope bhayo bhas भास्कं परम शुद्धं बाह्या अभ्यंतर शून्यं पूर्णं ब्रह्माद्वितीयमेव वाहम. I am neither this nor that, but the supreme illuminator of both. I am pure, I have neither an exterior nor an interior. I am infinite, verily I am the non-dual Brahma. The student, while experiencing the pure consciousness, feels I am neither this which I considered myself to be through avidya, nor am I that which the teacher made me understand through vidya. I am the illuminator of both these avidya and vidya, which are but aspects of my intellect. I am the Supreme Self. This means the body. With reference to the body, we generally say inside and outside. Inside the body are matters subjective, and outside the body are matters objective. If the body itself is not, then what is inside or what is outside? Inside and outside of what? In deep sleep, when the body is not available, there is no inside and outside. In that condition, is the darkness inside or outside the body? It is Purnam, all full. I am the non dual Brahma, other than which there is nothing at all. Stanza number 494. Nirupam mana ditvam tavam hi mid mad iti kalpana duram nit anandai karsam satyam brahma divitye vaham. I am unparalleled, the original-less reality, beyond such imaginations as you and I, this and that, the essence of bliss eternal, the truth non-dual Brahma am I. Reality is unequaled and is without beginning. Time itself is a concept projected on Brahma. Egocentric attachment with my body, gross, subtle and causal, is I. Egocentric projection on your body is you. Thus you and I can only be at the egocentric BMI level. With reference to my body, that which is nearer to it is this, and that which is further away is that. This and that are just another set of superimpositions at the gross level. These concepts imply conditioning in space. The self is beyond time, space and causation, eternal and non-dual. That Brahma am I. Verse number 495. Narayano aham narkanto ko aham पुरांत को अहम पुरुषो हमीशः अखंडो बोधो हम शेष साक्षी निरीश्वर ओ अहम निरहम न निर्मम. I am Narayana, I am the slayer of Narka, I am the destroyer of Tripura, I am the supreme being, the Lord. I am unbroken knowledge, I am the witness of everything. I have no other Lord, and I am devoid of I and mine. Who makes these statements? It is not the one who is the son, daughter of one's parents. It is the one who is established Arudha in the self who cries out. Nara is Brahma, Ayana is the glory. Narayana is one whose glory is the whole universe. Narka is hell. Narkataka is one who has ended his hell, one in whom there is no trace of sorrow. Living at the body level is to be Narka. The criminal, the devil who creates hell for one is the PFT. One's own, not somebody else's. Narkosura, the ugly devil with horns and tail, is the inflated ego. When he is destroyed, the Atma is attained. In mythology, Lord Shiva is Purantaka, the destroyer of the demon of Tripurasura. The deeper implication of the term is this: Puri means a town in which people live. Individuals live in the three states of waking, dream, and deep sleep. When these three worlds are transcended, one enters the state of selfhood, also called the Turiya state. It is the fourth plane of consciousness, and hence he is the destroyer of the three Puris. At every moment in our lives, We live in one puri, destroying the other two. We are not able to destroy all the three at the same time. Lord Shiva, the embodiment of auspiciousness, absolute, is the one who has accomplished this feat. He is the supreme meditator. He am I, Shiva am I, Shivoham. I am Purusha, the Atma who dwells in this equipment. I am Isa, the Lord, the controller, the ruler, the regulator. But for me, the body would not have worked. But for me, none of the experiences of waking, dream, and deep sleep would have been possible. Because of me, everything is possible. Without me, nothing can be. Naturally, therefore, Isa am I, the Lord of all experiences. I am objectless knowledge, the witness of everything without exception. When I myself have become Isvara, how can there be any other Isvara for me? I am the self without I-ness and myness. Stanza 496. सर्वेषु भूतेष्वेव संस्थितो ज्ञान आत्मना बहिराश्रय सन् भोक्ता च भोग्यं स्वमेव सर्वं यद पृथ्वी दृष्टि मिदन्तया पुरा. I alone reside as knowledge in all beings and am their external and internal sport. I myself am the experiencer and the experienced. I am all that was experienced by me separately as this and not this before. I, I alone revel in all creatures as their knowledge. When a scientist discovers what is in outer space and a bird understands what is edible, in both cases, the understanding principle is I alone. The discriminative intellect in the scientist and in the bird could not have functioned without me. I am the light in which all subjects know their objects, the subject and the object, the enjoyer and the enjoyed are all nothing but me. On walking, one realizes that the mind itself had become the dreamer and the dream world. So too all that was declared as this before awakening to one's selfhood is now realized as one's own self. Stanza 497. मैं खंड सुखा भो दो बहुधा विश्व विचय उत्पदन्ते विलियन्ते माया मारुत विभ्रमात्. In me the ocean of unbroken bliss, endless waves of the universe are created and destroyed by the play of the storm of Maya. The infinite varieties of the names and forms in the world around are but ripples and waves in me, the ocean of infinite bliss. The world of plurality rises from truth, exists in truth, and dies away in truth. That truth am I. The waves rise in the ocean because of the breeze, the winds, and the storms. Maya, the non-apprehension of reality, is the cause because of which the waves of misapprehension rise, exist, and subside in me. Who am I? The ocean of bliss. Stanza 498. सथूलादि भावा मयि कल्पिता भर्मा दारोपिता सफूर्णेन लोकै काले यथा कल्प कवतरसराय नत्वधियो निष्कल निर्विकल्पये. Concepts of gross etc. are wrongly imagined in me by people because of the manifestation of supreme positions, just as in the indivisible and absolute time. Cycles, years, half years, seasons, etc. are imagined. Concepts of gross, subtle, and causal bodies are created by the non apprehension of reality. These attitudes are all superimpositions upon me, the self. Time is indivisible and absolute. It is not possible to divide it into parts, yet for the comprehension of the human mind, units of time have been conceived: cycles, years, half years, seasons, months, fortnights, weeks, days, hours, minutes, and seconds are all imaginary projections in the absolute time. A minute is also time, a month is also time, years are also time. All these distinctions are in time. Similarly, in the undivided hush and quiescence of the mind, in that absolute reality, there is neither anything subtle nor anything gross. All these are but superimpositions. In these verses, Sankara pointedly tells us that for the man of realization, there is no sanchita, agami, or prarabdha. When I have no gross or subtle bodies, how can I have prarabdha? Prarabdha is for him who sees the body. Stanza 499. Aropitam na asre duskam bhavet kadapi mudhe rati dos dusitah नादरी करो तो भूमि भागम मरीचिका वारिम महाप्रवाह. That which is superimposed by supremely ignorant fools can never sully the substratum. The great onerous of waters perceived in a mirage can never wet the desert tract. By the fancy of my mind, if I project something upon an object, it in fact can never have the qualities of my projection. Because of my delusory projection of a bleeding, ugly ghost upon a post, the post can never have the qualities of the ghost. The ghost can never contaminate the post. Aropitam na asrayam doshakam bhavet. The superimpositions can never contaminate the substratum. Even if the ghost seen by me vomits blood, the post will not be sullied by a single drop of blood. The causal, subtle, and gross bodies are but superimpositions upon me. How then can their karmas ever affect me? I am immaculate. The desert land cannot get wet even by floods of water seen in the mirage. Because of non apprehension, I apprehend myself to be the body. There afterwards, whatever I did was followed by its results. The results were accrued according to the quality of my work. Karma anusara phala. Thus, Prarabdha, Agami, and Sanchita were conceived. Now that I have realized the substratum, the delusory projections have ended, and hence the karma phala will not affect me at all. Stanza 500. Akas Vallepi Vidurgoham Madityevad Bhashe Vilakshano Aham Aharye Vanni Ye Vinischo Mamodhivat Para Varjito Aham. Like space, I am beyond contamination. Like the sun, I am distinct from things illumined. Like the mountain, I am always motionless. Like the ocean, I am limitless. Like the sun, I am other than all that is illumined. The sun is not the world, though everything in the world is illumined by it. My body and its activities, my mind and its emotions, and my intellect and its thoughts are all things illumined by me. The consciousness I am something different from them all. Like the mountain, immovable am I and limitless like the ocean. All these terms extol the infinite reality which is beyond them all. These pointers to truth are to be used in one's contemplation and deep meditation. Stanza 501. Neme dehin sambandho meghinev vihasya atah kuto me tadharma jagrat sopan susuptaya. I have no relationship with the body just as the clouds have no connection with the sky. So how can the waking, dream and deep sleep states, attributes of the body ever affect me? I am not in the body, nor am I the body. The body is in me. I am other than the body. The relationship between it and me is similar to that between the sky and the clouds. The sky has nothing to do with the clouds. In its vast accommodation, it allows the clouds to remain. The properties of the clouds are not in the sky. When the clouds move, we do not say the sky is moving. Similarly, the nature and dharmas of the body can never affect me. I am consciousness. I am not the gross, subtle, and causal bodies whose dharmas are the waking, dream, and deep sleep states. Since they are not me, how can their dharmas be mine? In short, in Vedantic idiom, the last line indicates that in me there is neither non-apprehension of reality, sleep, nor misapprehensions, dream and waking. Stanza 400, 502. Upadhi dhrayati sa eva gacchati sa eva karmani karoti भुङ्क्ते स एव जीर्यन् मिर्यते सदा अहं कुलाद्रि वह्निश्चल evam sansita. It is the conditioning which comes and that alone which goes. It performs actions and experiences their results. It alone decays and dies. I remain immovable like the Kula mountain. The coming into the body and going out of it is done by the mind and the intellect. It is the function of the subtle body. This coming and going happens in me, the pure consciousness. The Upadhi, the BMI alone performs all actions, good, bad, or indifferent. Indifferent. It is the BMI which enjoys the fruits of actions. All these things happen in me, but I am like the Meru mountain without movement or change. Stanza 503. Neme pravirtir cheme nivirti सदैकरूपस्य निरसंशय एकात्मको ये निविडो निरंतरो व्योमेव पूर्ण से कथम न चेष्टते. There is neither engaging in work nor abstaining from it. For me, who am I always the same and without parts? How can that which is one, unbroken, and infinite like the sky ever strive? Engaging in work and cessation from it are both egocentric ideas. They are the engagements of the equipments. Since I am not in any way connected with the equipments, I am not doing anything good nor am I doing anything bad, being totally uninvolved in everything. Existence alone is my nature. All things borrow my existence and dance around in me. I am existence in everything. Their differences are due to names and forms. Names and forms constitute the world. The world has existence. The world is not existence. Just as you have health, you are not health. Health is a condition of the body. The world minus names and forms is existence. This existence alone am I. Existence has no parts in it. It is homogeneous and uniform. It is eka rasa, that alone am I. I am one homogeneous mass of consciousness without any differences. Like space, I am infinite. For such an entity, how can there be any activity? It is a mythological concept repeatedly endorsed in the Vedas that the Meru mountain is the center of the universe around which all the solar systems revolve rhythmically. Thus, Meru is the motionless center around which all movements takes place. Activity and retirement are possible only when there are parts to do the work and there is a field for activity. In space, what can Mr. Space do? It cannot move even an inch since it is all pervading. If at all you see any work being done by me, you are not looking at me, but the movements of my equipments are, for in my infinitude I am like the sky all pervading. Stanza 504. Punyani papani niryendrasya nischetso nivikrte nirakirte kuto mama akhand sukha anubhute brute haryannavagati mityapi sruti. How can there be merits and demerits for me who have no sense organs, no mind? Who am I without modification and form? Who am I the realization of absolute bliss in the passage not touched, etc. Shruti also mentions this. How can I have punya and papa? Neither have I commission nor any omission. I am pure consciousness. How can one who has no sense organs and no mind, who is without modification and form, have merits and demerits? A blind man lying totally paralyzed cannot be accused of having kicked me on my nose. The first line of the verse is in the language of negation and explains what I am not and what I have not. My nature is positively the essence of unbroken bliss. How can I be accused of having merits and demerits? In support of his statement, Sankara quotes from Shruti, untouched by merit, untouched by sin. He is then in deep sleep, gone beyond and all mental agitations. This is the description of the individual who is in the deep sleep state. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad Yajnavalkya, the teacher says, so while explaining the sleeper, in sleep, the individual is in deep ignorance, mola ajnana. On waking up, his desires will sprout again. So will his thoughts and actions faithfully as the same species of his vasanas. When you are in the causal body, there is no sorrow. It is only in the realm of effect that there is sorrow. How can there be sorrow for the individual who has gone beyond his vasanas to Om? When you are in avidya, you are a potential punyavan or papi. But once you have gone beyond avidya into vidya, how can there be any merit or demerit? When the non-apprehension of reality has ended in its apprehension, how can there be any misapprehension? Stanza 515. Chaya spushtupushmanam va shitam va sustu dustu va ne saprashyatev yat kinchit purusham tadvi lakshanam. If the shadow of a man is touched by heat or cold, good or evil, it does not in the least affect the man who is other than his shadow. Heat or cold touching my shadow will not give me any sensation. When the shadow was being dragged along the road, it fell into the gutter, then it came onto the road and was run over by a car. The fate of my shadow is not my fate. Let the shadow be run over, crushed, bruised, and distorted. How shall it ever affect me? Not an iota of its tragedies and destinies will even touch me, for I am totally different from my shadow. Thus, the man of realization is untouched in his awakened consciousness by the experiences of the world that he apparently gathers during his waking dream and deep sleep. Stanza 406. Ne sakshinam sakse dharma sansparshanti vilakshanam avikar mudashinam graha dharma pardipavata. The witness is not affected by the properties of things observed, for it is distinct from them. It is without modification and indifferent, just as the properties of a room do not affect the lamp that illumines it. The properties of objects observed cannot affect the observer. If I observe a waterfall, I need not have a backache. The observer is other than the observed. The nature of the witness Sakshi is changeless and indifferent. Avikaram Udasinam. He is not involved in the activities. The nature and properties of the house do not affect the lamp which illumines them. In this house of flesh, I am the consciousness which illumines all its objects, emotions, and thoughts without being involved in any of their activities. The light in the house illumines all that is happening in the house. Bereavement or marriage, the fight between husband and wife, birth and death, the light illumines them faithfully. It is not affected by any of them. Similarly, the nature of the body, the sense organs, the mind, etc., can never affect the Atma, who is the one illuminator. Stanza 507. Raver yatha karmani sakshi bhavo vanne yatha daha niyama katvam rajo yatha rapo pit vastu sanga satatav kutasthi chidatmanomi. Just as the sun is the witness of all men's actions, just as the fire burns everything without distinction, just as the rope is connected with a supreme position, so too am I the unchangeable self, the essence of intelligence. You see how bright and cheerful the sun looks today. Actually, the sun is the same every day. Today, you saw it as bright and cheerful because of the happy state of your mind. In the light of the sun, all activities take place. Therefore, the sun is said to be the witness of all activities, but it has no attachment with what it illumines. Unattached, it witnesses everything that happens. Unattached fire burns all things that come in contact with it. If you know the law of fire, avoid it. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. The rope has no attachment with the snake that you see. Immutable, changeless, Chidatma am I. You may project anything upon me. I am unaffected by your projections. I am the pure consciousness. Stanza 508. Kartapi va karyatapi na aham. Bhoktapi va bhojyatapi na aham. Drashtapi va drishyatapi na aham. Soham swam jyoti nirdrig atma. I am neither the doer nor do I make others do anything. I am neither the experiencer nor do I make others experience. I am neither the seer nor do I make others see. The self am I, self luminous and transcendent. Just now it was pointed out that the shadow is not affected by heat or cold, good or evil. Even if the shadow is on a block of ice, one does not freeze. From the standpoint of the Atma, The transcendent reality is as independent of the individual as the individual is of his shadow. Therefore, the self can never get involved in the experiences of the world either directly or indirectly. To indicate that it is not involved in nor responsible for any of the activities of the world, the verse under Com- commentary is given by Sankara. I perform no action, nor do I enjoy, nor do I see. Not only do these functions of the ego not belong to me, but I, the self, do not prompt others to act, enjoy, or see either, denying any direct involvement in the activities of the little ego. Sankara asserts the positive nature of the self and cries out, I am the self effulgent, the transcendental self. Self effulgent Swam Jyoti, the self illumines everything alike. The objects, the sense organs, the mind, and the intellect. The question does not arise who illumines the self, because as pure consciousness it is the source of all light. It is unborrowed light, transcendental, anidriyagata atma, something which cannot be explained by comparison with things known, that is transcendental. Stanza number 509. चलतुपादो प्रतिबिम्बलोलः मोपाधिकं मूढधियो नियन्ति सौबिम्भूतं रवि दिव्यनिष्क्रियः कर्तास्मि भोक्तास्मि हतोऽस्मि हेति. When the conditioning moves, fools attribute the resulting movement of the reflection to the object reflected, like the sun, which is devoid of activity, and they cry out, I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, I am being killed. Alas, when the reflecting medium is disturbed, the reflection gets disturbed. If the sun is reflected in a bucket of water and the water is disturbed, the image is also disturbed. The sun is not disturbed. If anyone thinks the sun is moving, he is indeed a fool. If a child sees the image broken, he cries out, the sun is broken. When the child cries out for the moon, the mother generally gives him a mirror. He sees the moon reflected in it and is happy because he thinks he has the moon. He plays a while with the mirror and then drops it. It breaks and the child cries, thinking the moon has broken. This is exactly our condition. When the body is ill, we say, I am ill. When the mind is a little agitated, we say, I am agitated. When the intellect is worried, we say, I am worried. I, the Atma, like the sun, am never involved in any of these activities. Fools, not knowing that all these are the play of the equipments, cry out, I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, I am the sufferer, I am dying, oh alas. Stanza 510. जले वापि सथले वापि लुठत स्वेश जडात्मकः न अहम विलिप्ये तदो घट धर्मे नमो यथा. Whether in water or on land, let this inert body drop down. I am untouched by its properties, like the sky is untouched by the properties of the jar. This unnecessary weight of 75 kilos that I am carrying around with me, let it drop down anywhere. I am not involved or contaminated by its dharmas. Let it fall wherever or whenever it likes, the quicker the better. Just as the space is not contaminated by the properties of the pot, I am not conditioned by the dharmas of the physical body. I am the infinite reality. Verse number 511. कर्तृत्व भोक्तृत्व खल मत्तता जड़तव बद्धे त्वे विमुक्त तदाय बद्धे विकल्पाने शांति वस्तुतः सौ समिन ब्रह्मणी केवल दवे डूवरशिप enjoyership cunning, drunkenness, dullness, bondage, and freedom. These passing states of intellect are in reality never in the self, which is the supreme Brahma, absolute and non-dual. I am the illuminator of all intellectual concepts which are nothing but thought waves in me. Intellectual judgments, wise or otherwise, are all in me. I am but their illuminator. In point of fact, none of them really exist, for the nature of reality is pure infinite consciousness. Awake as I am to that reality, no intellectual concepts and judgments have any significance at all. Stanza 512. Santu vikara prakirte sadha satdha सहस्रधावापि किम मे संग चिंतन घने कवचिदम्बरम स्पृष्टि. Let there be modifications in Prakriti in 10, 100 or 1,000 ways. What I have unattached knowledge absolute got to do with them. The clouds can never touch the sky. Prakriti is the realm of matter which undergoes modifications at every moment. There are modifications at the physical, mental, and intellectual levels which do not affect me, for I am the substratum of all of them. Let there be any changes in tens, hundreds, and thousands, I have nothing to do with them. I, the self, am unattached to the matter envelopment, so their changes do not affect me. As long as I am attached to the body, its changes are my changes, and so I suffer the consequent sorrows. When I am unattached, I am not affected by the changes taking place in that realm. For instance, as long as I am attached to the Bombay office, the worries of the Bombay office are my worries. The moment I am transferred to Pune and hand over change at Bombay, then the Bombay problems are no longer my problems. Similarly, before realization, I was attached to the body, and so I suffered the persecutions of the body. When I detach from it, its sorrows no longer affect me. Just as clouds come and go, but space is never affected by them. The pure consciousness in which, among other things, this body also exists. That consciousness am I, so I have nothing to do with the body. This is the sort of complete detachment and positive experience of the infinite eternal consciousness, the state of perfection to which the student has risen. Stanza 513. अव्यक्त आदि स्थूल पर्यंत में तत् विश्वम यत्र भासमात्रम प्रतीतम व्योम प्रख्यम सूक्ष्मादंतहीनम ब्रह्म अद्वैतम यत् देवामस्मि. That in which the entire universe from the unmanifest down to the gross appears as but a shadow which is like the sky, subtle and without beginning, and indeed that non-dual Brahma am I. Till now the student was talking in terms of what he is not, in the negative language of our familiar experiences. By such statements, we understand only half his views. Standing in the known, we can stretch our intellect into the unknown. So, a few verses are now given in positive language in which the student tries to say what he is. The wisdom of reality not known to us at the moment is pointed out, where our intellect can make at least an attempt to stretch itself. Suppose I introduce myself to you and say, I am not my younger brother, I am not my sister either, etc. I cannot be satisfied with such an introduction because I have not said who I really am. But if I mention the name of a common acquaintance, You will perhaps know who am I. I am the nephew of Gopal Krishna's wife's cousin's uncle. Similarly, the student is somehow hooking his experience of the infinite to our non-experiences. Whatever it is that I am, yat tat eva aham asmi, that nature of which is now explained that I am, from the unmanifest down to the grossest OET, everything is called Vishwa. The universe consists of the entire world, the equipments of experience and the objects of experience. This universe is only a projection rising out of imagination. Asa mantram. Brahma, the reality, is the substratum upon which all these imaginations are projected. That reality am I. That reality is infinite and all pervading. It is without beginning and end. Like space, it is extremely subtle. That great reality, that non dual Brahma am I. Stanza 514. Sarva Adharam Sarvavastu Prakasham Sarva Akaram Sarvang Sarvashunyam Nityam Shuddham Nischalam Nirvikalpam Brahma Advaitam Yat Deva Hamasmi. That which is the sport of all, which is the illuminator of all things, which is of all forms, which is omnipresent, devoid of multiplicity, eternal, pure, motionless, and absolute. Indeed, that non dual Brahma am I. Adhara means substratum, that without which things have no existence. The substratum for cloth is cotton, for the pot it is mud, for the chain it is gold, for the universe it is Brahma. Verily it is Sarva Adhara, the illuminator of all. Sarva Vastu Prakasham. It illumines form through the eyes, sounds through ears, smells through the nose, taste through the tongue, touch through the skin, feelings through the mind, and thoughts through the intellect. All forms are its own. It is the cause for this entire universe. The infinite in its grossification has become the stone that the plant life, the animal life, and the human life, all forms that constitute the universe, are its forms alone. It is all pervading, devoid of plurality. All these are but its expressions. It is eternal, unconditioned by time. It is pure, uncontaminated by the BMI, PFT, and OET. It is motionless, everything moves in it. It has no movement. It is absolute and is beyond all modification. This absolute factor, whatever it be, that I am. Stanza 515. Yat pratyaya sesa maya vishesham pratyag rupam pratyaya gamme manamam satyajnana anant anand rupam brahma advaitam yat deva hamasmi. That which transcends the endless differentiations of Maya, which is the subjective essence in all, which is beyond the range of consciousness, which is of the nature of truth, knowledge, and endless bliss. Indeed, that non dual Brahma am I. All pluralistic misconceptions are the creations of Maya, Maya Pratita Dvaita Bhavana. When reality is experienced subjectively, all these misconceptions and reality cannot be understood by properties. That which has properties can be understood through the BMI. If Atma is perceivable, it becomes an object of our cognition. Atma is the subject because of which we are able to cognize things. The essence in me because of which I know everything I know can never be an object. Eternal pure consciousness which is endless bliss is my nature. This non-dual Brahma alone am I. Stanza 516. निष्क्रियो सम्मे विकारो अस्मि निष्कलो अस्मि निराकर्ति निर्विकल्पो अस्मि नित्यो अस्मि निरालंबो अस्मि निर्द्वयः. I am devoid of activity, modifications, parts and forms. I am absolute and eternal with no other sport and non-dual am I. Till now, because of my identification with the BMI, the nature of the BMI was my nature. Now that I have realized the self, I have become of the nature of the self. My identification with Brahma has ended my identification with the matter vestures. I am the self from which they draw their nurture and nourishment and perform actions in the world. The self never acts. That non-dual Brahma alone am I. Stanza 517. सर्व आत्म को अहम सर्वो अहम सर्वातीतो हम द्वयम केवल अखंडो बोधो हमा आनंदो अहम निरंतर है. I am the universal, I am all in all, I am transcendent and non-dual, I am absolute unbroken knowledge, I am bliss and eternal am I. I am the self everywhere. I am the universal. I am names and forms are nothing but me. At the same time as the absolute, I transcend them all. Unbroken, objectless awareness am I. There are no distinctions in me. The happiness that we know today is only an interval between consecutive sorrows. The bliss that we know is broken by the sequence of sorrows. Since there is no sorrow in that realm of experience, it is absolute unbroken bliss. That bliss is not within the ambit of relative experiences but is beyond them. Stanza number 518. Savrajya sa bhaje vibhutirisha bhavat kirpa Sri Mahim Prasadat प्राप्ता मया श्री गुरुवे महात्मने नमो नमस्तेस्तु पुनर्नमस्ततु. By the supreme majesty of your grace, I have gained the grandeur of the sovereignty of self-effulgence. O noble teacher, salutations to thee again and again. Sovereignty within oneself is called Savrajya in Vedanta. Savrajya is mastery over the external world of objects. Freedom from inner prosecutions is Savrajya. When the BMI are not under the control of the individual, he becomes as it were persecuted by himself. When the objects of the world tempt him, they make him run after them. He who is free from such persecutions is a Samrat. The glory of mastery over one's self and that over the world around me has been gained by me by the grace of my teacher. By the sheer brilliance of his grace, I have gained the glory of Savrajya and Samrajya. O Guru, O great Mahatma, to thee my prostrations again and again. After pointing out his experience in the language of negation, the student asserts his absolute nature. Here he expresses his gratitude towards the teacher who guided him. Stanza 519. महास्वप्ने मायाकृत जनी जरा मृत्यु गहने भ्रमंतम क्लिश्यंतम बहुलत्रा परे अनुदीनम अहंकार व्याघ्र व्यथिता मी मृत्य कर्तम कृपया प्रबोध है परस्वा पात्रे ब्रह्म वित्ते मानस मामसी गुरु. Out of sheer grace, O teacher, you have awakened me from sleep and saved me who was roaming in a never-ending dream in the forest of birth, decay and death, created by illusion and was tormented day after day by innumerable tribulations and greatly persecuted by the tiger of the ego. In the deepest caverns of this mighty dream called life, the concepts of birth, growth, decay, disease, old age, and death created by Maya afflict me day in and day out. I am confused, confounded, and deluded. I am choked by various persecutions, thus I pass day after day. Let us take a Typical example: I was born to my parents. I spent my childhood in my backyard. I went to school. In school, I was told I was no good at a grammar, so I worked hard at grammar. Then they told me to study Shakespeare and Keats. When I started quoting Shakespeare and Keats, they told me I was only repeating and had no original thinking. Finally, I landed as a clerk in a government office. Parents got me married in no time at all. There were 2 or 3 children. Government started family planning campaign, but there was one more sheer accident. I was in Bombay where both hands never meet. Wife wanted the sari she had seen on the boss's wife at the party. Elder son wants college fees. Second son is doing class 5 for the third time. Third child always sick. Doctors' bills soaring high. Baby milk available only in black market. House has become a hell impossible to live in. All this is prompted by a ferocious tiger called ego sitting at the door. There seems no escape from this terrible agonizing dream. From all such dreams you have woken me, O Guru, to you my prostrations again and again. Stanza 520. Namastasmai Sadakasmai Kasmai Chintmahe Se Name Yadva Viswarupen Rajate Guru Rajate. Salutations to you, O Prince, among teachers who are indefinable greatness, who are ever the same, who manifest as this entire universe. To you, my salutation. That one infinite reality which is the same everywhere, which has come in the form of the Guru. To that my namaskara to you, O teacher, who revel in the form of the BMI OET Viswarupena, my prostrations. With this benediction, the student expresses his adoration to the teacher who has initiated him into the science of reality and its unforgettable experience. So at this stage I conclude this video. Next video number 32 will start with the topic final words of advice, and it will be covered from stanza 521 to 575. Thank you my dear friends. Namaskar.
It wasn't a picture. How do you do?